performed this evening by a freshman vocal performance major from Mentor, Ohio, Rebecca Cooch.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tonight's match at Akron Stadium. You have your Bowling Green State University Falcons taking on the Akron Zips, the first round of MAC play for both teams tonight. I'm joined by Kian McDonald, the assistant women's coach. Kian, excited to have you in the booth. How are you doing today?
Pleasure to be here. It's always a good event here to watch Akron against BGSU. It's always an event. I think whether you're directly or indirectly involved in this game, the nerves are there and the suspense is definitely there. So.
Especially the first game of the MAC type of regular season play. It's a big game. Both teams trying to get out on the right foot. What are you most looking forward to tonight?
Honestly, both teams have had a good season, probably underachieved so far. So I'm looking forward to the competitiveness and see how they're going to start the MAC season, because at this point it's a new season. So I'm looking forward to it.
I know I'm pretty close with a lot of the BG players, and it's a special time of the year for a lot of them. They call it, a lot of people call this month October, but for a lot of the Falcons on the team, they call it MACtober. It's a special month for them. Big month, a lot of huge games. They've got a couple of home games in the MAC, a couple of away games. They're just looking to get on the right step tonight, get on the right foot, and take a W from the Zips tonight.
Yeah, I think everyone's going to be looking forward to it. Like I said, it's going to be a new season, new start. I'm sure they're going to come out raring to go from the get-go. So looking forward to it, yeah.
Absolutely. And look for Akron early on to keep a lot of the ball, but BG is going to look to just control their possession. Like, we know the Zips, how they play. They're going to be very technical. They're going to keep a lot of possession. But the real question is, do they keep possession in BG's final third, or are they keeping it in their final third?
First couple of minutes, I'm sure we'll find out, but I imagine the intensity is going to be through the roof to begin with. I think I'll be interested to see which team takes control of this game early on, because, like I said, intensity is going to be high from the get-go.
Absolutely. So kind of a special night here on Akron Stadium. We have, it's called the Bowling Green Alumni Outing or Game, whatever you want to call it. We have around 80 alumni back for tonight's match. So a lot of people just looking to see the Falcons play well tonight. Early chance there for the Zips. Well defended there by Mo Mustafa just to see that one out.
I'm not surprised. There's an early injury at some point. It was going to happen. Intensity's high, like we had mentioned, but yeah, you can see the nerves are already there.
Yeah,
space opened up behind the line, and I figured that was going to be the case. So I'm sure, hopefully, after the first 30 seconds, they'll settle down and minimize those opportunities as quick as possible.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, as you mentioned about the alumni event, I think this is a huge opportunity for the BGSU men's players right now to do those 80-plus alums proud, you know, because there's a rich history here at BGSU men's soccer, and And I know the alums that are here to watch are excited.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really good point. I just want to bring up the fact that, tonight we're celebrating Alumni Weekend, right? But obviously this past year, like, we lost a very important alumni in Gary Kovacs. You'll see a lot of all the BG players in their uniforms have a GK for Gary Kovacs on their jersey tonight. And I think it's just important to highlight his role and what he's done for this program. We're able to play a night game tonight because of Gary Kovacs. Like, he paid for all of the lights in the stadium. He paid for basically the entire stadium. Like, what an incredible alumni. And it's just nice to have everyone back and celebrating him and just celebrating his role in this program. And, like, he's had a lasting footprint in this program, absolutely.
Like I said, BG men's soccer alums have a rich history with it. So I was fortunate enough to meet Gary a couple of years ago, and he really is one of the most incredible human beings I've ever met. So terribly unfortunate when we heard the news, and like I said, everyone at BGSU involved with BGSU men's soccer are going to miss him dearly.
It's a big miss, absolutely. It's just what an absolute lasting impact he's had. Play resumes here for the Falcons. And like we mentioned, pretty physical start to start so far. Both teams kind of just feeling each other out. Offside there by the Zips.
Be interested to see what David Egbo, number 9 for Akron, what his role is going to be early on. It looks like he's already caused some issues between the 3 centre backs of BGSU. So I'll be interested to see how between Mo, Tom, and Ebby handle him early on. So we'll see.
Right. I think it's a big point, too, just to note that Ebby's back in the lineup for the Falcons. I always think that's an exciting sign. Ebby, obviously, a tremendous talent from Ghana. Very athletic center back.
Couldn't agree more. It's been a joy watching him this year so far.
Talk about a kid that you're scared to go against in practice. He's got to be one of the most frightening people I've ever seen on a soccer field.
100%. When I watch training sessions from the side, I'm intimidated just watching him play. So I think he's a huge asset for BGSU back line, the back 3. And yeah, I'm sure he's been raring to get back on the field for the last couple of weeks.
I know he's a very competitive type of player, so you know exactly, like you said, he's just excited to be out here. Ladies and gentlemen, just a note, Kean McDonald, assistant coach for the women's team here at BGSU. The women off to an absolute soaring start, starting 5-0 in the MAC play. I know I'm excited to have him in the booth just to have a little of his lucky mojo rub off on this men's team.
Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. So, yeah, we've been fortunate enough to start off well, but hopefully that good luck mojo you mentioned can filter into these guys right now.
So the women's team here, if you don't know, Falcon fans, 5-0 here in MAC play. Both teams here, Akron and Bowling Green men's soccer, looking to try to replicate something along those lines. Obviously, we're pulling for BG to do so. Good job by Tate Roberts in there. Just to hold up play. He does a good job of just keeping the defender on his back, draws a nice foul in a very dangerous spot here for BG. So he's got a couple options here, Kean. Do you want to walk us through his options?
I'm sure Akron have taken note of Tate Robinson's ability on the ball, whether it's whipping a ball in from the side or in these dangerous situations. I think right now, I'm not too sure what he's going to do because he has the ability to cross it in, ability to put it top right.
It's a perfect spot because the goalie has to respect a cross here, right? Like he has to be honest about that. But if he does put it, if he does elect to put it around the wall, he can do so. And we've seen his ability to curve a ball. He's a very technical player. And I like that. So Tate runs over the ball. Chris Brennan takes a shot there. And I like that out of the Falcons. It's a very dangerous spot. Like, why not have a hit there?
It's a joy for BGSU to have 2 players like Chris Brennan and Tate Robinson being able to stand over a free kick. Because for a keeper, that must be a nightmare. Absolutely.
And they're class players. Very technical. And so we're going to see a lot of this tonight from the Zips. They're going to play very short. Try to keep possession. And so just look to see the Falcons control that possession, and then when they do win the ball, counter-tick very quick.
Excellent defensive play there by Tom Roble, who has been a steady player this year. I'm a fan of Tom. He's kind of like an old-school centre-back. No nonsense. 50-50 tackles tend to go his way more often than not. So
he's the type of guy that just, when he's called on, he just gets the job done.
Absolutely. He's the kind of guy you want on your team and you absolutely don't want to be playing against.
Yeah, couldn't agree more with that.
Interesting to see Charlie, number 11, playing out wide right. He's usually more of a central player, so interesting to see the reasoning behind that.
No, I agree. I think it's interesting, too, because obviously the Falcons have some pretty established midfielders. And so I think Coach Nichols is going with the approach of, like, let's put our best 11 people on the field, right? Like Charlie obviously playing out of position, playing right wing back. Obviously not his type of position, but he's one of the top players on the team, so you got to get him on the field somehow.
Absolutely, and I think that's probably the way in which they were thinking about this game. It's Akron. They need their most experienced 11 on the field.
Yeah.
And talk about experience with Charlie. This game last year came up big time with a goal in the last second.
One of the best goals I've ever seen from a BG midfielder.
Yeah.
Beat 3 Akron Zips, tucked it in far corner. Absolute class goal.
What a place to do it and a time to do it. Unfortunate about the end result, but I'm sure he won't forget that anytime soon.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. So I've been pretty pleasantly surprised with BG's start so far in the game. The Zips really haven't dominated a lot of possession like we've seen in the past. I remember, so I'm an ex-BG soccer player. We played the Zips back when they were top 5 in the country, number 1 in the country, whatever. They just connect a lot of passes against you, so it kind of wears you down at times. I've been really pleasantly surprised by BG's ability to just get numbers behind the ball, but then also step to the ball and give the Zips a hard time, and not a lot of passes, a lot of options behind them.
Yeah, I think that's probably a game plan from the get-go. Don't make it easy for Akron. So far it's worked out well, but what I will say is a couple of occasions Akron have broken a line and found space in behind, so it's a high-risk way of playing for BG, which they may get results out of, but it also means that they may be exposing the back line, which we've seen a couple of times. But with the likes of Ebby back there, athletic enough to make it work if he is out of position.
Exactly.
So again, it should be a back-and-forth game, I'm sure.
Not sure what the ref stopped the play there for. Oh, it looks like he called a foul on the Zips there. It's always funny to me to see Abby get fouled because he's a hard man to move at times.
It's very few and far between, I'll tell you that. I've been in a couple of tackles myself and I have not come out on the other end. No, still feeling it, to be honest. That's Tom Roble for you in a nutshell.
And that's what we were talking about, just a reliable defender. You know, you'll see a lot of defenders there panic. Maybe they go in a little early, they'll lunge at a tackle. Tom just kind of good run there by Tay Robertson. Good ball by Chris Brennan. A little lucky there to get a deflection to play him through.
Absolutely, and on Tom just there, like with the field being as slick as it is today, it's very easy for defenders to dive in, to slip, have their boots fall beneath their feet, and very easily just dive into tackles. And Tom did an excellent job of staying on his feet.
Especially, like, obviously, we're both attacking-minded players. You know, we're looking for defenders to kind of lunge. Like, the second you lunge, like, we know we got you beat. Tom just doing a really good job of just standing somebody up and making them go negative.
We know how it works. You're trying to make them bite. You're trying to make them at least try to pretend where you think you're going to go. And if they don't bite, it makes it very difficult for a forward like number 12. And, yeah, it was interesting to see. Zips usually play with fullbacks that are overlapping. I think they're notorious for that. Yeah. And it was interesting to see their left back there make an underlap, which makes it very difficult for the likes of Tom and Charlie to manage. But they did a good job that last time.
If we want to talk about really stable center backs, I think it's important to note Mo Mustafa. Talk about a guy that's hard to get around. I've never seen a player like him before.
He's incredible defensively, one of the most difficult defenders for forwards to get around.
And what's surprising is offensively as well. Let's see if he can stand somebody up here. And right on cue, he does.
Excellent defending again by Mo and Tom. I think with Mo, he's a huge addition to this back line because I know he had an injury scare at the beginning of the week and they weren't sure if he was going to be able to play, but I think this has been an absolute massive addition to this back line.
Yep, absolutely. So just for you folks at home watching the game, just so you know, the Bowling Green Falcons are wearing black tonight. Akron Zips wearing white. I think it's important to note that. I probably should have mentioned that early on in the broadcast. But we're still learning.
We're still getting there. Chris Brennan making it difficult as per usual for the centre backs to win an aerial battle.
And I like that out of the Falcons. They're very methodical and meticulous in terms of where they play the ball. Like you see in most goalies, you know, they'll just try to hit it as hard as they can. The Falcons play a little bit different. They're trying to find Chris Brennan's head to see if he can flick one on to somebody running in behind. And this is where they're particularly very aggressive. You'll see their center backs come up, these type of set pieces. Look to see if they can find Mo Mustafa's head here on the back post coming in late as a late runner, and he'll head it back across.
He tends to do that very often this year, and with the likes of Ebby coming in back post.
Yep.
Oh. Tried something new.
I like that. I think that was something off the training ground there. Obviously didn't pan out, but the Falcons looked like they had a plan there.
Yeah, I think it's important to know how dangerous BGSU have been off set pieces, and I'm sure Akron have done their scouting report and have been meticulous about what they need to do to counter that. So to change things up on Eric Nichols' behalf has been a clever thing, and I don't doubt for a second that they're going to have a couple of them up their sleeves today.
Yeah. And it's that time of the year, right? Like early on, regular season play, you're playing non-conference opponents. You really don't want to show all of your tricks in the bag,
Exactly.
right? It's MACtober. It's time to bring them out.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't want to do it too soon.
So I just want to note, too, like this is a huge game for both teams. The Zips, in terms of past history and where they've been, like in terms of this time of the year, previous years, they're not where they used to be. They're normally a top 10 team in the country. They're ranked. They've beaten UCLA, so-and-so, so-and-so. This year, things are a little different. So I'm just looking to see the Falcons just kind of take advantage of that opportunity, you know?
Absolutely. Both teams, like I said at the beginning, not having the year I'm sure they imagined at the beginning, but no doubt in my mind that both teams have come after this game to win.
Right.
And I think with BG, I think it's been 17, the last 17 occasions where Akron's come on top, so I think that's itself.
2 years ago we tied them.
Okay.
Don't forget about that.
Got
Right? It was a big tie.
You know what? I was at that game too, so I
should
should
have won,
remember
honestly.
that. Yeah,
a couple
absolutely.
bad calls, a couple penalty kicks there. Obviously, we're biased a little bit in terms of that, but
maybe just slightly.
That's just a player.
But yeah, like I said, Akron are on the heels of a tough game against Syracuse. Coming off, I think, a 3-1 loss. And BG coming off a 2-1 victory over Valpo. So, again, both heading in with slightly different momentums.
Right.
And with that being said, Syracuse just knocked off #1 Wake Forest last night. So they're no slouches of a team, that's for sure. So
it's just interesting to see how, like, a college soccer season plays out. You know, there's going to be ups. There's going to be downs. It's always the team that handles the downs better than the rest that do a really good job. So I want to note there, just a really special talent in my eyes is Jensen Lukaska. Talk about a big game for a freshman coming in. You know, he hasn't played a lot of college soccer. Talk about a huge opportunity. This kid has absolutely impressed me since the second he stepped on campus.
Absolutely. I know the coaching staff have been really excited about Jensen coming in. And for me personally, as a supporter of BGSU men's soccer, I've not been disappointed. He's a joy to watch. Extremely high soccer IQ.
Yeah.
Knows his game, knows his role, and he just does it to a T. So, again, the kind of player you want on your team and you don't necessarily want to play against.
He just, as a 6, I'll stop really quick as Peter Pugliese streaks down the sideline. And this is where Peter's at his best, just taking defenders on. He's so slippery at times.
Peter's one of those who's hit form at the right time. I think for the last couple of games he's been nuisances for left and right back, so I think this is a huge game for him to get after the right back today. So that's happened a couple times, the last couple of occasions where the ball was crossed in. It's been a bit of a cluster, and BG have failed to get rid of it the first and second and third occasion, which just raises the intensity of the defensive attributes as well. So I think clear that first time, it eases the tension ever so slightly.
I agree. Big opportunity here for the Zips on a corner kick. Let's see how the Falcons defend it. There's Mr. Reliable, the freshman, stepping up in a big game, clearing the ball. Jensen Lukaska.
Again, a really intelligent player, and what a huge occasion. I'm sure this is when he committed to BGSU. These are the kind of nights that you wait for,
yeah.
you know. So
this is what makes you sign these type of games. 80+ alumni watching. The stadium's packed for you back home that can't necessarily see it. The lights are on. The stage is huge, and he's absolutely delivering.
Big time tackle by Abby. Again, one of those reliable players. 1v1. Very rarely does he come out not with the ball. So incredible defender.
Here's Chris Sullivan getting his first few touches of the game.
Good player. He must have learned from someone.
It wasn't me, I'll tell you much. I'll tell you that much.
So I don't know if you can notice, those who are watching, the field isn't in incredible condition, so it is quite difficult to keep possession. Akron are obviously a possession-based team. Touches are ever so slightly off. The details aren't quite there, as you can see from a heavy touch. So I think this is an opportunity for BG to kind of get all over, and for the first 10, 15 minutes, it seemed as though they've just done just that.
I couldn't agree more. And the grounds crew here does an incredible job with the field. It's just, we've played so many games. September was raining almost every day, I feel like. It's been tough to keep this field in the condition it is. And honestly, it's in a pretty impressive condition for how many games we've played on it.
Absolutely.
Both the men's and the women's teams.
So I'm not too sure if you noticed just a few seconds ago, Peter Puglier's defensive attributes. It's the same with Charlie. The two wingbacks today for BG are going to have their work cut out for them with their attacking fullbacks, whether they're going to have to worry about them or their high wingers. Between the two of them, they're going to have to work defensively like crazy today. And so far, they've done just that.
It's kind of a chess match at times. Like, you got to pick and choose your moments as a wingback of when you fully recover, or do you stay high at times and kind of make them respect, you know? Like, if you recover every time, if you recover 100% of the time, then if I'm an Akron Zip wingback, I'm going to go forward every time. But if you pick and choose those moments to kind of stay forward, then they have to respect that and kind of draw back a little bit.
Absolutely. Again, I think it's a case where you can't make a decision before the game or during the game. It's how's the game going? How are their fullbacks playing? How's the game playing out? You know, it's a situational decision. So far they've made the correct one.
I couldn't agree more. Good win there by Charlie Macheski just to keep that ball in. I was waiting to see the linesman put his flag up there.
Again, they've got some diminutive players, BGSU, but aerially, every single one of them can fight. They want to win the ball in the air, and if they're not going to win it, they're sure going to make it difficult for Akron
I think
to
that's
win
just a testament to the type of player that Coach Nichols recruits. You know, he's not necessarily looking for the best soccer player in the world. He's looking for people that are winners. It doesn't matter if that's. Like, I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, my favorite story is, I'll hold off in a second as the Falcons have a little bit of attack going. And the Zips come up. Look to see the Falcons get some numbers behind the ball here. That should be catching practice for Anthony Mwambia. As I was saying, though, like, Coach Nichols recruits people that are just very competitive in everything they do. You watch these kids play cards on the bus driving to an away game. Everyone wants to win, no matter what it is. If it's the smallest task, everyone wants to win. So he recruits winners as opposed to necessarily the best soccer players in the world.
Absolutely.
Obviously, you have to have that certain level of quality to make this team. But he's looking for people that are going to try to win games, obviously.
You're dead right, and I think this BGSU team definitely have a blend of both.
Yeah. Super
competitive players, but extremely good athletes and well-rounded. And honestly, from knowing them as well, they're just really good human beings as well, which I think Eric Nichols does a really good job of recruiting. I think.
No, I couldn't agree more with you on that point.
Ben Lunt, Akron goalkeeper, needed to use his 6'6" frame to keep that one out of the net.
Almost an OG there for Akron.
Almost. Again, that's the surface. It's slick. It's going to bounce. It's going to be awkward for defenders on both sides. So I think balls into the box, delivery, whether it's whipped in,
Completely agree.
driven in, it's going to be awkward for the defenders.
That's one of the most dangerous balls in soccer, is you get it out wide, you play a hard ball across the face of the net, and it's a nightmare for defenders to try to get out.
Absolutely. Unusual Route 1 football by Akron there.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's credit to BGSU forcing the issue.
Good job there by Jensen, just to get the ball on the ground, play somebody's feet. That's why I'm so high on this individual.
In an intense game like this, we need a player or two to be able to settle the game down, and Jensen is doing just that.
Couldn't agree more. Just a little too much there by Tate. You saw what he's trying to do. He's trying to free up Charlie on the right side. See if he couldn't get in behind the Akron defense.
Right idea, and I think Tate does a really good job of that. He can texture a pass in any which way. Incredible technical player.
Oh my
gosh, put any sort of spin on the ball, and I think we saw that. I think, was it 2 years ago with the goal that he scored against Akron?
Yeah.
From around the halfway line?
Yeah.
So he can ping it, he can whip it, he
that
can thread it.
Won, by the way.
Honestly, I was there, and I have to agree that should have been the case.
No, but like you're oh, great ball there. Good control there by Charlie Macheski. Look to see if he can't find Tate on the backside here.
Right idea by Charlie.
And that's what the Falcons do. They give the defense a very hard time at times. Like Chris Brennan, Tate Robertson, Chris Sullivan, Charlie Macheski, Peter Pugliese. They're always just kind of that annoying person that's in the way, you know?
Yeah.
Like they see that ball, like their eyes just get huge. They see that as an opportunity, and that's what makes them so effective up front.
Again, whether or not they think they're going to win it, they're going to make it difficult for center backs to clear it cleanly, which is a huge thing. That's how you build confidence and momentum.
Appeals there from the fans. If you ask the BG fans, that was a penalty.
That was a really good case of Ebby winning anything and everything aerially. I think whether it's a 50-50,
beat him in there.
It's
Seriously.
true. It's true. I don't think there's such thing as a 50-50 with Ebby. I think he's just going to win it.
It's 90-10.
So, yeah, incredible attributes from Ebby.
And that's what's neat about the BG team. They know what their strengths are, right? You get a throw-in on the right side, kind of deep in the opponent's half. All right, let's slow it down. Let's set up for a long throw, and let's play to our strengths.
I think with games like this, as tight as they are usually at any level, whether it's amateur, pro, international level, so often games are decided by set pieces, and I think both of these teams understand that. And BGSU and Akron both have strong qualities with set pieces in general, whether it's a corner kick, whether it's a free kick, whether it's a throw-in, as we just saw. Any which way a game can be won or lost.
Couldn't agree more. Any dead ball, pretty much. So this is what we're talking about, the Falcons kind of controlling the Zips possession, right? They're fine if they're in their end, but it's the second they cross the halfway end, just like that, they look to see them win the ball. Good job there by Abby just to win a free kick for the Falcons.
Another player who I'm a huge fan of is Zack Fisher as well. Incredible player between the two. Zack and Jensen, two sitting, two holding. Steady, just sitting in front of the back three. So really
excited to watch. And that's what you need out of a six, just somebody that defends really well, but then when you're in possession, keeps possession for your team, right? Like they're very technical players. The second they get it, they'll find somebody's feet.
Absolutely. One of my favorite players this year so far is Zack, and obviously he's had a solid year so far. Scored that incredible goal against Ohio State with
Talk about a goal.
9 seconds to go.
Don't blink because the ball was in the back of the net.
Yeah. Pretty sure that might have been on his weak foot too. So right foot, left foot. I think that's a good attribute of a solid central midfielder.
What was neat about the Bishop brothers, so his older brother plays at Northwestern. They were both on SportsCenter within the same time frame. It was crazy because they both scored absolutely bangers.
Very talented family. So I think what I'm sure Eric Nichols will be saying to the likes of Tom is have their back line, have Akron's back line face their own goal. So balls like that, Chris Brennan, as good as he is aerially, I'm sure he just wants it in behind the back line of Akron Zips. So again, there are things that they can probably vary, but so far the Akron Zips back four have done a really good job of maintaining Tate, Chris, and the three forwards right now. So we'll see how that continues.
I agree. That's going to be a big coaching point there for Eric Nichols. Ask pretty much any defender, their least favorite job is facing their own net trying to clear a ball. So can the Falcons put them in that position?
That's that old school centre back from Tom right there. Big win, lump it forward, and it's a dangerous attack going forward.
And there's what we're talking about right there. Just in what should be a 50-50 ball, Abby just makes look so easy. Heads it right to somebody's foot. Zack Fisher picks up the ball, plays somebody else's foot, grabs a foul.
Obviously don't want to make this a commentator's curse, but so far David Egbo has been quiet. So between the three centre-backs, Mo Mustafa, Ebby and Tom, they've done a really good job of just keeping him quiet. And it could be a combination of the three back line and Jensen and Zach just in front, but he's not done much so far. And we know how dangerous he can be from the year. He has 17 points, 7 goals, so I think he's always going to be a threat. And I'm sure Eric Nichols and his staff have figured out a way in which that they can keep him quiet as long as possible.
It's just those type of players you just got to stay dialed in for 90 minutes on, right? Like they're just looking for that one half chance, and those quality type of players will make that half chance a full chance and take it. So you just... Do
you know who that reminds me of?
Pat Flynn.
Pat Flynn.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, alumni that's here.
Former player myself. I played against BG, and I remember Pat Flynn. In fact, I don't remember Pat Flynn for 89 minutes, and then he came up with a winner in the last minute.
Right.
They're the kind of players that we're talking about.
They're so dangerous. Like, if you give them that half step, they're going to bury the chance. So you just got to pick, like, you just got to be clicked on for 90 minutes.
Yes, sir.
And ladies and gentlemen, Pat Flynn also in the audience tonight. So we're going to be looking to try to bring him up in the booth, see if we can't get a quick interview from the BG legend.
Absolutely. Again, Tom Vrobel, excellent defending 1v1 once again.
Talk about a player that kind of just maybe didn't necessarily have a role at the beginning of the year, but got his opportunity and just took it. That's Tom Vrobel 100%.
And that's the nature of a good team. You know, they're ready. Whether it's their opportunity now, but they're ready to go in if and when the opportunity
It's kind of like the next man up mentality, right? The second, like obviously in a college soccer season, things are going to go wrong. Players are going to get hurt. So-and-so is not going to do the best. It's a next man in type of mentality. You have to be ready no matter where you are in terms if you're number 1 on the team or number 24. Everyone has to be ready to play.
Tom Vrobel has done an incredible job of coming in and replacing the injured centre backs. And again, I think he's just made it his own at this point, and he's done an incredible job for the first 20-25 minutes so far.
Absolutely has stepped up and just done a great job as a center defensive mid. The Falcons here make their first substitution of the game. Charlie Macheski checking out for the Falcons. Vinnie Warner coming in, number 2, right here on the ball. Gets an early touch.
Huge fan of Vinnie personally. Again, one of those players, still a sophomore, young, one for the future, but he's very unassuming. You may not see him for a while, but he's incredibly intelligent as a soccer player. He'll find pockets of space, and he's just a really good technical player as well.
Just fun to watch.
Absolutely.
Plays with some passion, a little grit. It's just neat to watch.
Yeah.
I think you can say that a lot about all of these Falcons, really.
Absolutely.
Good line there by Anthony Mwembi, and Mo Mustafa just kind of figured that out. 2 years ago, Anthony might have said something in French.
I think that was the issue when he first came over. Either way, he still has had an incredible career at BGSU so far, and what a leader he is and has been in the past. And I'm sure BG are thrilled to have him as just a junior, and he plays like a senior, and I think has done since a freshman year.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Here's where the Falcons just need to take advantage. You got Peter Pugliese in a lot of space. I want to see him run at players.
Chris Brennan does an incredibly good job of that. At times he may need to release it earlier, but what he does do is he draws 1, 2, sometimes 3 players, which just leaves spaces for other players like Tate, like Chris, like Peter on the wing. Yeah. So again, if he can release it a little bit sooner, I think there's spaces for BG to capitalize.
Right. And I think the Falcons want Brennan a little more high up the field, right?
Absolutely.
He's so good in those tight spaces where he just needs a step and he's taking a shot, like that's where Brendan's at his best. So look to see him kind of get a little higher up the field as the game goes on. Falcons again win the set piece header, just doesn't fall to anybody. Good job by Mo Mustafa, just the battle there. Good job by Anthony Wambia, just be high off his line there.
Somewhat of a miscommunication, but I think between the two of them, they figured it out.
Yeah.
Tom Roble once again.
Mr. Reliable, Tom Roble.
Got a couple here for Akron. 7 for 9, 12 for 11, and 8 for 14.
Thank you, sir. 7 for 9.
Good decision by Chris Sullivan there.
Just finds people's feet. And look to see Vinnie try to get this one in.
It's unfortunate, but I think overall Chris Sullivan integral in that attack. I think from the get-go when he received it in the middle third, he could have turned and went. There was no options going forward, so he just decided to keep it. He got it back and he switched the play. So really good play by Chris Sullivan.
I think that's what makes him a pretty good player. Is he just is very intelligent on the ball. He knows when it's time to attack. He knows when it's time to keep possession. It's like those type of players that kind of are able to pick and choose their moments are what make them effective.
Absolutely. Reminds me a lot of his older brother, that's for sure. Maybe not as much goals. Maybe that's what he needs to add to his game.
For those of you who don't know at home, that's my younger brother, Chris Sullivan, on the ball.
You guys got to play 1 year together?
We never got to play together, no. It's probably for the best that we never got to play together because we're too competitive to be on the same team.
That's fair. That's usually the case for siblings.
Yeah. We played against each other growing up a lot.
Sure. Yeah, I'm sure you did. Whether it was 1v1 in the garden or on the field.
I know my mom was happy that eventually when I went to school, just because I got out of the house and I stopped beating up my little brother.
Well, by the looks of things, Chris is bigger than you, so I'm sure he was beating you up, no?
The verdict's still out on that one.
But I think it's worthy to note both of these guys' schedule today, Akron and BG, although their seasons overall hasn't been as, or at least what they expected from the get-go. They've had extremely tough schedules. Like, for example, Akron have played Denver, Indiana, Butler, NC State, Washington, and Syracuse recently. BG playing Notre Dame, Penn State, Michigan State, and Ohio State. So, although they haven't had the season that they had expected, their schedules were incredibly difficult all year.
I've always been a firm believer that that's smart as a coach. Like, the more tough opponents you can schedule for a team, the better they are going to become October, November, when games really start to matter, right?
Absolutely.
Like, I think BG's kind of seen this in the past. Like, we start off 7-0, but we haven't played necessarily the hardest schedule in the world. Mm-hmm. And then come like those clutch games, it's kind of hard to win them at times. So if you're going to lose games, obviously nobody's trying to lose games, but if you're going to lose them in September. Mm-hmm. Play those hard teams, figure out what works, what doesn't, and then kind of figure out what that magic mojo is. So
here's a question. Do you reckon that was playing in the mind of Eric Nichols or whoever it was when scheduling? I know they're usually well in advance. Yeah, but obviously in past seasons, like you said, I think last year BG were top 20?
Top 20, yeah. They started off like 6-0 or something like that. Something along those lines. And I 100% think that's Coach Nichols, right? He's realized, and that's a sign of a good coach. They adapt, right?
Absolutely.
They don't have their set method and they stick by it. Obviously, you look at the top managers in the world, they adapt.
Absolutely.
They adapt to the players they have, the teams they have, and the schedule they have. So why not schedule some of the tougher opponents? Obviously, Akron does something along the same lines.
Yeah.
And I think it'll pay dividends in terms of the long run.
Fingers crossed. And with that as well, I've been fortunate enough to be working alongside Eric Nichols and his staff for the last 4 years, and I can assure you that he's an incredible coach as well as just a really, really top guy. So yeah, I don't doubt for a second that he's he's doing everything in his power to do what's right for these men more so than anything else.
I think what Coach Nichols does such a good job is just getting his team to buy in, right?
Absolutely.
Like, he just does a great job of just getting these kids to just believe in the system, believe in how they're going to win games, regardless whether or not they want to play like that or like it. The whole team buys in, and I think that's what you see with the Falcons.
I think you have to with a guy like Eric. It's very clear that he's an extremely intelligent guy when it comes to soccer. He knows the game as good, if not better, than anyone I know, and I think that holds a lot of weight when you have young men like these, as good as they are, listening and learning from a coach like that.
Right, it's easy to buy in when you believe in the coach, right?
Absolutely.
Like, you believe what he's talking about. You know he knows what he's talking about. It's easy to buy in. I've been just very pleasantly surprised with the Falcons' start to this game. Obviously, we have 11 minutes left in the game, in the first half, excuse me. And it's been pretty even. Both teams not necessarily having a ton of chances. A lot of the game played in the middle of the park. But my one critique for the Falcons is, can we get our wingbacks higher up the field? Can we send people like Vinnie Warner? Can we send Peter Pugliese? Can we get them in space, right?
So
can we create more danger there?
As we expected at the beginning, this is going to be a chippy game. I think both teams are going to play with nerves. Opening MAC play, schedules and results so far this year haven't been as good as expected. So I think at this point, it's who's going to take over the game in the most important areas. It's the final third and defensive third. So I think that's the part where both teams have to maybe get out of their comfort zone and look to push it a little bit.
Couldn't agree more. Here we have our first yellow card of the game. Good job by Chris Sullivan just to get his body in front of number 26. I think that's Abdi Mohammed. He draws the first yellow of the game as Akron gets a yellow card. Good job by Chris Sullivan there just to get his body in front of somebody. That's where he's at his best. He makes it very hard for defenders to take the ball off of him. Just putting his body in front of somebody.
Absolutely. I think it doesn't matter how tall, how big, how strong you are, as long as you can use what you have to your advantage. I think that's what it's all about, and that just comes down to IQ.
Look at some of the top players in the world. Like they're so good at just getting the ball, getting in front of somebody.
Absolutely.
And the second you're in front of somebody, you own them because they can't go through you. Obviously, they're going to draw a foul, just like we saw.
The clock is running. The clock is running.
Just a little rain starting to fall here on Akron Stadium. And if rain doesn't sum up Mactober, I really don't know what does.
I was just thinking, what is this game missing? And that's exactly what it was. It's just
I
going to
can't
add to
remember
the
the last
intensity.
MAC game that it didn't rain.
Interesting.
It's just seems to sum up the MAC, right? You got some gritty teams.
It certainly
You
adds to
throw
the
some
ambiance.
rain in there, right?
Yeah, I'm sure we'll be seeing some tackles flying in. If not now, closer to the end of the game, depending on how this game is going.
As a player, though, I always loved like a slick pitch. Like this is perfect.
This is ideal weather.
The ball just moves a little different. It's slick. It's fun.
Being from Ireland and working with a staff from England as well, I think it's very, very few and far between that we played in games that wasn't raining. So I think this is something that reminds us of home, that's for sure. I'm saying that now. I'm excited about it. I'm in a press box. I'm not getting drenched, so I'm all right with it. The rare occasion where Ebby doesn't win an aerial duel.
Big save there by Anthony Wimbia. Just very strong wrist just to keep that one out.
Extremely dependable, Anthony Wimbia. Shot stopping, one of the best I've seen.
Probably
One of
the best I've ever
seen.
played against.
Absolutely.
I don't know if I've ever scored a goal against him.
It's one of those things that if you did, you'd remember.
I agree.
I heard the shot in the corner.
So, conditions now. Set pieces are even more vital. Put them in on a keeper with 2, 3, 4 big bodies in on top. It's going to be next to impossible
Just give
to
him
get a
something
clean
to
catch.
exactly. Give him something to think about.
With the game going the way it's going, if it's not going to be a stalemate, it's going to be won by some sort of gritty goal. The game has that sort of feel.
Yeah.
It's going to come down to who wants it more, I think.
Absolutely. Just look for one of those balls, like served hard on the ground across the face of the net, and the ball just kind of sits, and somebody just runs in and just smashes it home. That's the type of goal that's going to take to win this one. Similar to Chelsea Washington's goal last week for the women's team.
Correct, yes. One of those, I think it was the last 10, 15 minutes. At that point, I think we said at halftime it's going to be whoever wants it more.
Yeah.
Chelsea Washington made that 60,
Smashes
70-yard
it
run
home.
and smashed it home. So we'll take that one every day of the week.
Rain really falling now here in Akron Stadium. Looks like the ref's going to just stop it and just kind of wait for the rain to die down.
And the game is being suspended at this time. We are on a weather delay. Yeah, we are on a weather delay at this time.
So folks back home, just so you know, we're on a weather delay. We'll get back with you right when the game starts back up.
Sounds good.
Here's your radio.
Good. All right, you're good.
Welcome back, listeners. Just wanted to fill you all in. We are currently beginning a 10-minute warm-up period, and the game should start back up at 8:40 p.m. Just wanted to fill you all in. So get prepared to watch some more Akron Zips and BGSU men's soccer in 10 minutes' time. Check back in 10.
Thank you.
Yeah. They're like. Welcome back, folks. Play has resumed here for the BG Falcons and the Akron Zips. We appreciate your patience waiting on that lightning delay. The weather seems to have cleared, so it's game on here.
As we had mentioned about the field being slick and slippery and the conditions being poor, I think it's just accelerated a little bit more now, so it'll be interesting to see how they start with that long delay.
I think that's like the biggest thing too. Like you mentioned, the long delay. Get your legs like back. It's hard to like stop play for 40 minutes and just get your legs back, you know?
Things getting a little chippy already, as we imagined with the long break and what we expected from the get-go of this game. So, nice intense start.
So what we've heard is basically what we're going to do is just shorten the halftime.
Yeah, it's going to be half of a half, seven and a half,
yeah.
Which makes sense, I'm sure. At this point, both the Zips and Falcons want to just get this game going. So, after playing for 7 minutes after that long break, I'm sure they want to just keep going.
I think the biggest key for both teams here is just like be clicked on in terms of starting back up. It's easy to have your focus kind of drift away here. Look for a couple errors here early on.
I can only imagine that was a coaching point in the hour or so delay by two coaches here and the coaching staff as a whole. I can imagine it was the main thing was just stay engaged, stay focused, because again, these types of games come down to one moment,
those
good or
margins,
bad.
Right? The margin's so small between winning and losing.
Absolutely. Really good opportunity for Vinnie Warner there to settle BG down and keep possession. But again, with the long break, it's going to be difficult with the intensity, with the with everything going on. I imagine that's going to be difficult. So far, Akron has come out stronger with possession and having BG run ragged ever so slightly now.
Good defending there. I think that's Peter Pugliese, number 12 out there. Does a good job just to deny service into the box.
Again, Peter obviously his main attribute going forward in the middle third and final third, but as quick as he is, they help tremendously on the defensive end of things. So I think 1v1 defending for him is always good because he's a difficult guy to get around with him being so quick.
Oh my God, yeah. Let's see if Tate Robertson can just hold up play here. He likes to just kind of run at him. Kind of like that.
Yeah, interesting decision by Tate Robertson there. I think it was 1 versus 4 or 5 at that point, and the better decision may have been to pull it back and keep possession, but I mean, he showed some good pace there. I thought he was going to have it for a second.
Great little touch there by Chris Sullivan just to keep possession. You'll see a lot of players here start to slip, as you saw Vinnie Warner there. This is the perfect game to speaking of slipping. This is a perfect game for some soft ground cleats.
Absolutely. Again, this is what these sorts of games come down to, and it's going to be difficult for Akron right now to play their game with it being so slippy. And right now, as a centre back, these are not the games you want to be in. One slip and it could be done.
Yeah, absolutely. Ask Steven Gerrard that.
I was thinking the same thing. Apologies for all you Liverpool fans out there.
Yeah, this is going to be a very sloppy game going forward.
Excellent defending by Mo Mustafa there. Again, what we talked about a little bit earlier, 1v1 defending between the 3 defenders all night. They've been incredible so far.
Yeah, they've stood up to the task, absolutely.
Rasping shot there by Akron's number 7. Again,
Kind of surprised that the ball stayed in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good punch there by Mwambia. Just being smart. The ball's wet. Obviously, he's pretty soaked as well. Just being smart, just punching it as opposed to catching it. Being very safe.
Again, I'm sure goalkeeper coach Sean Teepin has had some wise words during the hour-long break about just that. Again, there's going to be opportunities for Anthony to catch, and I think he chose wisely there. Just get rid of the ball any which way.
And talk about a really good goalkeeper coach as well. Sean Teepin is very good.
He's one of the best out there. Incredible guy, incredible human being, but knows the game tremendously well. He's had a great career himself.
Yeah, exactly. He's one of those very rare coaches that understands soccer, goalkeeping-wise, understands the game as well. So he adds another intangible asset to the Falcons coaching staff as well. Just
100%.
Understanding goalkeeping, but even more importantly, soccer as well.
And again, Anthony Mwambia, the caliber of player he is, he's fortunate to have someone like Sean Teepin to look up to as a former player, former pro, and coaching-wise, he's an incredible coach as well. So exactly what Anthony Mwambia needs.
1 minute here, the clock ticking down here for the Falcons. I think both teams would be pretty satisfied to come into half 0-0. Especially out of the break, just to not have a mental breakdown.
Yeah, it's a strange one, though, being out for so long and then...
I can't imagine what the players are going through, just mentally-wise, just to get yourself back up for a game that you waited 40 minutes to play. Numbers
Jensen
here for the Falcons. Yeah. Space here. Look to put him a hard ball behind the back line.
It's an excellent ball. See, again, moments like that are difficult during transition. Sometimes you can only get 2 or 3 going forward because they attack so quickly, so that's why.
Right, and that was well defended by the Zips just to get some numbers behind the ball.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4.
Clever defending by Tom Roble there.
He knows the clock, he knows the situation. Just get the ball out. We'll live to fight another day.
Absolutely.
All right, folks, we're going to do a brief halftime here.
7.5 minutes.
7.5 minutes, so we will see you way faster than we normally do after half, and we'll pick this right back up. Thanks for tuning in. All right, folks, welcome back to Akron Stadium. We're starting the second half here. Your Bowling Green Falcons are in a scoreless draw right now with the Akron Zips. Weather has had a lot to say so far in tonight's match. What are your thoughts so far, Keen?
Strange situation for both teams to be in right now. We've been out for about an hour or so, and back playing for 7 minutes, and then having a half-time break of 7.5 minutes. I'll be intrigued to see how this second half starts out. I imagine the adrenaline's still pumping from the
It's just
weather
a weird game overall when you look like a short halftime, a 40-minute break. Like, it's just interesting.
Something you can't really mentally prepare for. So
both teams obviously having to deal with it.
Weather's cleared, rain has stopped.
Play
I think
goes
it's
on.
setting up to be a really good and fun second half. Again, not a lot of opportunities in the first half. 6 attempts on goal for Akron, just the 3 for BG. So bit of a stalemate. So hopefully we can get more opportunities in the final third for both teams.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Both teams just doing a good job controlling the middle and not really giving up a lot of opportunities. Just look to see somebody get on the front foot. That's going to be the big question here.
Exactly.
So BG starting pretty much the way they started the first half. The only change is Vinnie Warner staying out at right wing back, replacing Charlie Macheski.
Again, we had mentioned it. Not a lot of substitution for either side. Just a 3 for Akron and just a 1 for BG. So I'm not too sure if there's a reasoning behind this by the BGSU coaching staff.
You know, I'm interested to see how they do the second. The first half's weird because you kind of stop play, so everyone got a break, right? I'm interested to see how the second half plays out. And we're going to see a lot of that the rest of the afternoon. A lot of people slipping. I've got corrected by my staff here in the box. We're going to call it night instead of afternoon.
Call it whatever you want. The guy on the right.
As you can see behind the goals and around the field, it's a bit of a mess right now. Standing water. As long as it stays off the field, I think we're all good.
Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's terrible.
Again, I think kind of what we said, it's a bit of a tactical chess match here. I know coaching staff, Eric Nichols and Jared, have known each other for a long time. They're aware of each other's philosophy, style. So I think this is a really good opportunity for both staffs to figure out what they can do to kind of get the most out of their team and expose the other team. And right now, like I said, it's been a bit of a stalemate.
I couldn't agree more. These MAC games, especially on the men's side of the MAC play, there's so few teams that to be the #1 team in the MAC or #5, it's a very small margin between the two. So like these games are just absolutely massive for both teams. So I think you're going to see a lot of both sides just kind of feeling one another out, not going too far, not attacking too much, just making sure they have numbers behind the ball, and just taking punches. Basically, is
and don't
not bending, not breaking, right?
Don't get me wrong. I know every coach and every team has a philosophy and a style, and they want to stick to it. But when it comes to MAC play, it's so difficult to stay comfortable with it because no one wants to lose a game. But in MAC play on the men's side, there's just so little room for error.
Yeah.
With only 5 games to play, you lose a game, it could alternate
Could
your
be the
season.
difference
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's a much different mentality going into the game.
And obviously both of these teams know that, so they're going to be smart about when they go forward. Make sure they have numbers behind the ball at all times.
Absolutely.
And you'll see a lot of that the rest of the game.
Got some movement on the Akron bench. Perhaps going to think about making substitutions within the next 5-10 minutes, I imagine.
I think it's a smart play. I think I see it a lot with your women's team as well. You guys do a good job, especially in the second half, of rotating some fresh legs into the lineup.
Yeah, I think every staff, every team is different. I think the way we approach things is it obviously depends on the depth of your team, but I think fresh legs is so important with the non-FIFA rules, the on and off, flow in, flow out substitution rule. I think it benefits teams in different ways.
Offsides there by the Falcons, or by the Zips. Well defended, good line there by the Falcons to save one another. You could see Mo Mustafa, Ebby doing a good job of just staying connected together, making sure they keep a high line. Obviously the Akron Zips fall offsides there. And so let's see on this kick, let's see if they can find Brennan's head. That's what they normally aim at.
Interesting decision by the ref. I guess I could see why it was called a foul. Kind of slipped.
It's just a tough call on Ebby, right? Like, ref's going to stop the clock here, maybe have a word with him. I don't think it's a yellow card.
No.
He's just going to have a little talking to it, just say, hey, you can't lunge like that.
Slight overtouch by Ebby, and you could see the competitive nature that he is. He didn't want to lose the ball and kind of does anything and everything in his power to get it back, so I could see why. Great ball by 26.
And that's what the Zips do so well off just research, just keeping it simple, finding people's feet. I think for their type of play style and their kind of standards, I think they would have liked to have a little more possession so far in this game. And I think that's a credit to BG, just doing a good job of sticking with a man, you know, not bending, not breaking, just doing a good job of just standing people up and making the Akron Zips have a hard time finding feet.
I think it's clear what the Zips are trying to do, and I think between the men's staff and the players have an idea of how they want to play and what works and where the successes come from, and I think they've done a good job of making it really difficult for Akron to play their game. And there was just a miscommunication between Tate and Chris Brennan.
Right, you could see Chris Brennan with a nice run. Tate just kind of missed picking him out.
Yeah.
But look to see the Falcons do a little bit more of that. You know, the Akron's going to be comfortable in possession. The second they win it, look to see the Falcons just kind of break like that.
Absolutely. And it takes just one opportunity to get that right.
Absolutely. So corner kick here for the Zips. They haven't been too threatening so far on corner kicks. Falcons have done a good job just defending them. Wembia has been really big in goal, just doing a good job punching, deflecting anything that comes his way, catching whatever.
I think that's what he does. That's what he does a really great job in terms of owning your box as a keeper. He takes that to the next level. They're the moments that we were talking about, Joe.
Right, just a ball just falling, right?
Yeah, you get those wrong once or twice, it could end in a goal.
Exactly, and it goes either way. Both teams are looking for just that half chance that they can kind of capitalize. A 1-0 win is the same as a 5-0 win, right?
I'm sure every team would take that. Every coach would take that. So I've noticed BG's line getting slightly deeper as Akron kind of gain a bit more possession, as we would expect, or as we had expected from the beginning. They're gaining more confidence. They're getting higher up the field. Mo's line is dropping ever so slightly deeper, and it's not worrying times, but you can tell that they're starting to play their game a little bit more than they had in the first half.
And I'd like to see some of the center backs just take control of that. You know, let's get a higher line. Let's step up. Let's not let Akron play their game, keep us trapped in.
Yeah, I think that can stem from the forwards of BG right now and taking their chances to put their foot on the ball and say, hey, maybe not counterattack this time, keep possession and have Akron chase a little bit.
Put our foot on it, absolutely.
So I'd be intrigued to see the likes of Tate Robinson, the experienced player on the team up top, to see if he can put his foot on it and kind of just tell everyone to kind of just settle down a little bit and whether
just
that's...
recognize those moments, right? Like
absolutely.
There's a time to go forward and counterattack, and there's a time to keep the ball. So find those pockets, find those moments.
See now.
And that's what we were talking about by Tate, just keeping the ball. Good job by him. Really clever touch there as well.
Better by BG.
And just good numbers there.
Again, I know Eric Nichols is a huge fan of creating those triangles in midfield and in the final third, everywhere on the field really, and we saw a good example of that right then and there.
And that's like the most crucial part with the Zips is those triangles. Right when you win the ball, if you can get 2 or 3 passes, you break their press, right?
Yeah.
Akron does a great job of just pressing the second they lose it. Kind of like a Barcelona type of style, right? The second they lose it, they just throw numbers at the ball. But if you can connect a couple passes, you break that line, you break that defense, you can move the ball a lot better, and there's a lot of space.
That's the thing with the Zips. They do play a similar style in that there's no designated player to press. It's the closest player is going to press, and that can often be very difficult if you're a team trying to keep possession. But again, if BG manage to stay composed, keep possession, you can have 2-3 Akron players chase the ball and chase shadows if you get it done right, and then that's when spaces open up, and we've seen it a couple times
too, like the triangles, just to get it out of those tight spaces. You have a couple options on each side.
Absolutely. And if you can find the likes of Vinnie Warner and Peter Pugliese in space in wide areas, we know what they can do.
And just let them do what they do best, especially Peter. Just let him run at people.
Absolutely.
You know, Peter's at his best when his head's down, the ball's at his feet, and he's got defenders just absolutely chasing him. Good ball there by Chris Brennan. Ref gonna flag it. I like that out of Tate though. He knows he's not gonna get it. Just take a foul. Why not?
Makes it difficult. Make the center back second guess himself the next time. Maybe he goes for it.
Let him know he's there, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good ball there by Abby.
Clever.
That's what makes him as an interesting center back. You know, he's very athletic. He's hard to get off the ball, and he's great at defending. But he's very technical as well. He's got a good blend.
Abby, I'm convinced you could stick him in goal, and he'd do a great job.
Mr. Utility. Let's call
seriously.
him that.
You could put him anywhere. He's an out and out number 6. I think, in my opinion, he's playing center back because he can, and he's an incredible center back. But I think he could play anywhere. He really could. And that's huge to have on a team like BG if and when they have injuries. Like we talk about in the college game, there's always going to be injuries. But if you have a player like Ebby, can stick him anywhere, it's a huge benefit.
Yeah, could not agree more with you there. And I think this has been an interesting game for Akron as well. They kind of seem a little out of character in terms of how they normally play. You'll see like a lot of miscommunications in the middle of the field for them, just like that. Like they normally connect that pass 100 times out of 100, but it's just interesting tonight. They just really don't have their game that they normally bring.
I'll be interested to see why. Obviously, we don't have answers. It's subjective, but whether it's the game plan by BG, whether it's the conditions, whatever the case may be. But yeah, you're right. They've been off slightly, and it's not been a usual act.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You know how good they can be when they're firing.
Yeah.
You're chasing shadows for the most part, so I'll be intrigued to see if they can get a click.
Is it BG? Is it their preparation? Is it their tactical game plan? Or is it the field? Is it a combination of the two?
Whatever the case may be, I'm sure right now the Falcons are going to take it in their stride.
Happy with it, yeah.
Hopefully they can.
Great ball there by Chris Brennan. Tate, that's got to be a flag. Interesting by the ref not to rave one. Tate looked like he had the inside shoulder there. He's getting held back a little bit. You don't see Tate lose many foot races, so that's an interesting.
That was excellent recovery by number 3, Carlo Ritaccio. I think that was incredible.
Yeah, he
showed some great pace because, like we said, Tate is no slouch.
No. He couldn't beat either of us in a race, but other than that.
That is a joke for you viewers.
So this has been interesting for the Falcons. I just want to highlight the short kick on the goal kick, right? You can kind of see they're setting up. They don't want Akron to play short, but Akron's very stubborn in how they play. They're going to try to play short every chance they get.
You know what? That's what we talked about. There's philosophies, there's styles, and Akron are very adamant and stubborn. They're going to stick to it.
Right.
But again, I'm sure BG are more than happy for them to play in their final third and their back third. And again, one mistake, one slip.
Right.
Let them play out.
And
see what happens.
we've seen how wet the pitch is tonight.
Yeah. I do appreciate, as a coach, as a former player, I really do appreciate the style at which Akron are trying to play, and they're stubborn with how they want to play, and it's worked in the past, so we know how good they can be, so I can appreciate the stubbornness.
If it's not broke, don't fix it.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. Few substitutions now for Akron.
So Akron making the first couple subs for the second half. Trying to get some fresh legs out there.
Yeah, we had talked about David Egbo, who has been an incredible player for the Zips this year. BG kept him extremely quiet in the first half, an interesting tactical move to keep him off for the beginning of the second half. So be intrigued to see how he does, if he's going to be flying or if he's going to be kept quiet again by these Falcon centre backs.
Good touch there by Peter Pugliese just to keep the ball in play.
I think it was Tate Robertson.
Oh, yeah, it was Tate Robertson. I missed him.
Interesting decision by the ref there to give a corner kick.
Those calls that you're like, all right, maybe I should have called a foul, but I'll just give them a corner kick instead, you know?
We'll
that
see.
way everyone's happy.
Absolutely. I don't think the Zips coaching staff or fan base will be, but I think it was an interesting decision.
Thankfully, we don't have a ton of them here, so we're doing all right.
I imagine it's Tate Robertson with the set piece. We know how dangerous he can be.
Him have this whip really hard in the middle of the box, maybe near post, somebody flicks it on.
Yeah, so it's interesting because a lot of the time you would want to put it in on the keeper, have people overload that area. We look at the Akron keeper, Ben Lunt. I think he's played every single minute of every game, 6'6" frame. So maybe it's a tactical decision to say, hey, let's put it in and around the area, not on top of the keeper, because we know how good he is. So,
right, and I think what they're trying to do there is find Mo Mustafa on the back post and have him just kind of head it back across, nod it back across, what have you, and see what happens. Obviously not panning out for the Falcons, but Tate Robertson, like, we've seen his ability on the ball. We've seen his service. We know he can whip them in. But like you said, kind of trying to keep it away from the Akron keeper.
Yeah, I think that's Tate Robertson in a nutshell. He has 5 assists on the season and almost a good opportunity.
Yeah, I like that out of Chris Brennan. Yeah. Instead of taking a couple touches, just hit it in, see what happens. Take a couple chances. The Falcons need to do a little bit more of that.
Absolutely, and that's what I was kind of easing towards right there. They've not scored many goals this year, BGSU, but with Tate with 5 assists shows just how effective he can be on a team that isn't firing in the final third, but he is arguably one of the most dangerous threats going forward.
And that's a testament to Coach Nichols, right? They haven't scored a lot of goals. All right, let's make a couple adjustments. Let's throw Tate, who's been arguably one of our better offensive players as a right wing back. Let's throw him up top, see what happens. The next game he scores 2 goals. Right?
Absolutely.
Like, they're not stubborn, and they make adjustments when need be.
Absolutely, and that's credit to Tate, kind of taking that role upon himself, and obviously with the captain's armband this year. And
that's what you need as a senior captain.
Yeah,
you need a leader.
Yeah.
Put me wherever you want, Coach. I'll find a way to get the job done.
100%. It's vital in a team like this, as it's young, it's upcoming. There's a lot of young talent and players for the future. So players like Tate, players like Mo, like Ebby, players like Anthony are so important and vital for a team culture that is BG.
What's neat on that last play is Zack Fisher he doesn't need to slide. He doesn't need to win that ball, but he sells out for the team right in front of the bench, and you just see the entire Falcon bench just erupt. And that's what tells me that they have a team that's together. They have a team that's bought in, and they believe in one another. And it's just refreshing to see that, you know. You don't see that at a lot of other schools.
No, I agree. I think it's a really simple way to gain those momentum shifts as well.
Yeah.
Just
be loud,
just
be obnoxious,
like
right?
Yeah.
Let's see if the Falcons can make something of it.
And the ball is zipping around right now, making it very difficult for both teams to gain possession. So,
And
as
this
we had
is what-
imagined, an
Yep.
ugly game.
Right. And this is where Peter Pugliese is at his best.
Yeah.
Just running at people. He's one of the hardest people to keep off the ball. He always seems to make the first person miss.
Again, interesting decision by the referee not to call it. Maybe he's feeling a little bit guilty by the previous decision.
I absolutely love that out of Mo Mustafa.
Yeah.
That should be a card.
So here's the game we had expected. It's starting to get chippy. Decisions are being made. Late tackles are being flown in. So I imagine this is a sneak peek of what the rest of the game is just going to be like.
And ladies and gentlemen, I encourage you to stay tuned in. We have 24 minutes. Tempers are flaring. And this is where BG's at its best. They thrive in these type of moments where things get chippy.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a late challenge thrown in. BG seems to kind of
I think it's
thrive in that type of environment.
It's important to note when you're a part of these environments to find a nice blend and balance between having that intensity, but then the composure in moments where you need it.
You got to be smart.
Yeah,
it's balancing, exactly like you said.
Home field advantage, the crowd behind them. I can only imagine that these young men are pretty excited about the whole thing, and moments like that can get you going even more so for a momentous occasion like this. Tate's done well to keep possession. I think this is a good spell by BG. Keeping possession, making Akron chase a little bit, which is always good. Crowd getting a little bit riled up by the referee's last couple of decisions, which I imagine we expected at Cochran.
Great decision there by Tom Roble. Good communication between him and Anthony Mwembia.
Again, that's something that you had mentioned a little bit earlier. The communication between those four, the Anthony and the three center backs, whoever it is, has come a long way.
Absolutely. It's night and day between here when he first stepped on campus, right? You're bringing in one of the best goalies anybody's seen at BG in the history of the program, but he doesn't speak a lick of English, you know?
I can imagine the transition being extremely difficult, but I think
he's done such a great job.
Like
and it's a testament to the whole back line as a whole.
Absolutely.
I don't think we can reiterate it enough. Tom Roble has played an absolute gem of a game so far.
He's been incredible. As has Ebby, as has Mo. But Tom, as we had said at the beginning, no nonsense. He knows his role. He's done a great job. So they're the moments we talked about briefly with Chris Brennan as well. Peter's just drawn in 3 Akron defenders.
Yeah.
If he can get the ball off his foot slightly sooner, he's going to find Tate, he's going to find Charlie, he's going to find Chris and acres of space. So I think moving forward, he's drawn a lot of attention to him, which is great. Is exactly
You're seeing
what
3
BG
Akron defenders kind of flow to him the second he picks up the ball. So if he can get it off his foot kind of quick right when they draw in,
absolutely,
he'll release somebody.
Absolutely. It's the kind of player Peter is.
Yeah. He's clever on the ball. But those are what we're talking right. Obviously, it doesn't materialize into an awesome chance, but it's a half chance. BG understands their role in this game. They understand what they're good at. They play to their strengths. They slow the ball down, set up for a long throw, and see what happens.
We talked about it with all the possession that Akron have, and as a team, there's very little you can do in a set piece if there's a team that just wants it more than you. And I think BG have set out to be a nuisance when they don't have the ball, and then set pieces hopefully take advantage of it. And like I said, there's very little, if anything, you can do against a team that just wants it more.
Yeah, and that's 100% just a testament to the coaching staff of just getting these players to believe in set pieces. That's just great defending there by Vinnie Warner.
So, again, Akron, what they do such a good job of, they shift the ball so well, and then they find their fullbacks in higher, wider areas, and I think that's been an issue. Vinny's done an incredible job of making that defensive run, but at that point, he's got to reward himself and not let that cross come in.
Couldn't agree more, yeah. He's done all the dirty work. It's just get the payout, get the payout. That's a really nifty ball there by the Akron Zips as well. Those are always the hardest for a goalie, I feel like, too. Just a chipped back post. He's already in the near post, so he's kind of frozen. He's caught in no man's land. Really good defending on the back post to draw a foul there by Ebby.
100%. I think that's something that both teams can take note of. Any ball driven on the ground, dinked in the air, is going to be difficult for the keeper. So I think,
especially in the conditions, right? Like that's got to play a big role in both the keepers' minds. Akron electing to make yet another change.
Again, as we had mentioned just moments ago, dangerous out wide. Deliver the ball in a dangerous area, and it's going to be difficult. If a keeper is 1v1 against a forward, it becomes very polarizing because the eyes are on you as a goalkeeper, whether it's Akron's keeper, whether it's BG's, eyes are on you. You make one mistake, it's polarizing.
And those are just tough because you got to make a decision. Do you stay on your line? Do you go for it? Or do you stand somewhere in between? So Mwembi doing obviously a good job there, just making his mind up that he's going to be tall, be big, stay on his line. The Falcons lucky that Akron didn't put one on net there.
Again, Jensen and Zack Fisher doing an incredible job of just screening the back three, because right now Akron are playing what seems like a flat three up top and then the fullbacks joining late.
Oh, absolutely.
It's almost a 1v1 battle between the three centre backs, so Zack and Jensen have a job to do today, and they've done a great job so far.
And it's interesting, too, because I know how Coach Nichols sets up his system. The sixes are the most important players on the field, right? Your center defensive mids. He's electing to go with two of the youngest players on the team, right? A sophomore in Zack Fisher, who has a ton of experience, don't get me wrong, but still a sophomore at the same time. And then Jensen, who is a freshman, playing the two most important roles on the team and doing just a fantastic job of being smart, being technical, getting the ball, finding feet.
It's funny, it's contradictory the way you say Zack Fisher, like he's a sophomore with a ton of experience, but that's the case. He's played a bunch, and deservedly so, because he's a fantastic player. So between the two of them, as young as they are, clever players, know their role. I think it's exactly what they need in a game like this.
Especially as a six, like that's like as a center attacking mid, you want a six that plays exactly how they do. And you appreciate it more. Like being up here, seeing the whole game, you appreciate just how technical those two and how much work they put in on the field.
Yeah,
it's a sight to see.
As good as they need to be on the ball, they're just as, if not more important off the ball, which
exactly
we've seen so far.
Well done there by Chris Brennan to hold up play. Big time save there by Anthony Mwembi. He had a lot of traffic. I don't know if you're able to pick that up on the video stream or not, but it looked like the ball took an awkward deflection on him.
It did, ever so slightly, and I think those slight deflections become drastic.
They're a nightmare for goalies, right? You got your feet set, you know where the ball's going, and then all of a sudden it takes a slight deflection. Awesome job there by Anthony Mwembe just to keep his feet set and make a big-time save.
Again,
and then the follow-up save on top of that.
No, he had to be quick. He's more like a meerkat than he is human. He's incredibly quick and agile, and I think we know that from years past as well. But I think that highlighted exactly just how difficult it is to defend. We know how good Ebby is 1v1, but on the back foot, you're playing against a player with momentum going forward. Very difficult to turn your hips and have him facing the right way. We're talking about arguably the most athletic player out in the field.
Yeah.
One slip and you're toast.
So clock winding down here. We have just barely over 15 minutes left in the second half. This game has that feeling of just somebody needs to step up and be a hero for either side. Somebody just needs to put their team on the back and make a big-time play, put the ball in the back of the net, and it feels like 1-0 would be enough to kind of see this one through.
Completely agree. Excellent little touch there by Chris Sullivan. I don't know if you saw that, but I think he had one player behind him, one player coming in underneath, and he managed to tuck the ball away from both. So extremely good. He finds those half spaces underneath the back four and does a really good job of linking
the most
up.
Of them, right?
Links up the two underneath. He links up play with the forward. So really clever player and extremely important in games like this when it gets chippy, when it gets combative, and you need a player to just be that player to chill everyone out. And he's done a really good job so far.
I think it's important just to reiterate, like, there's times in a game that you just need to keep the ball, right? You can't always be the counter-attacking team that wants to go forward. Sometimes you just got to put your foot on it, string a couple passes together, and that's what the Falcons have done a good job so far of just electing to do.
Great ball by Zack Fisher.
You see exactly what they're trying to do every set piece. Find Mo Mustafa's head, body, leg, whatever. Just find the big body, like big athlete on the back post, and have him put it back across. Obviously hasn't panned out so far, but just look to see the Falcons continue to do so.
Absolutely. And on the heels of what you were saying a little bit earlier about like how to play and when, I think that's just massively situational, as we talked about earlier, and that's where the soccer players come into it, and reading the situation and the environment and how the other team are playing. And so far, BG have done a good job of speeding up the tempo, slowing things down.
And I think that takes some it's not natural for a soccer player to be like that. It takes some learning. It takes a couple of games of experience. What's neat for me as a spectator is the freshmen have been doing a good job of that. Well defended there by Abby in the corner. He'll get a handful of applause from the Falcon faithful.
As he deserves. Just so strong, as you saw Abby use his body there, and he's so clever about it as well, because you can very easily give away a foul in a dangerous area, and he's just used his body extremely well.
Nice little bit of skill there from Charlie Macheski. Awesome spin. Numbers here for the Falcons. Look to see him slot Chris Brennan here.
Vinnie Warner with a big-time chance for BGSU. I think.
No, I agree. It just kind of looked like he got dragged back there. If I'm watching that the right way, you see Vinnie appeal for a penalty.
This is a moment where we need a big scoreboard with an action replay. That's what we need right now.
We need
Unfortunately,
VAR.
we don't.
We need VAR there.
We need VAR up in here. Unfortunately, we don't, so we can only assume that the ref got it right. But
no,
yeah,
I agree. That's a no call, obviously, but encouraging play by the Falcons there. They make a little out of a half chance, and it turns into something that has some meaning. Yeah,
and I think at the very beginning of that set up, that play, we saw Charlie Majeski does an incredible job of just being that spark, that energy off the bench.
Yeah, neat little move, just crafty. Falcons fortunate there. The ball fell to number 9. I believe that's working on the name here. I believe that's number 9, David Egbo. Yeah, and we've seen him score a lot of goals so far for the Akron Zips in the season. Falcons very fortunate there that he didn't put that one on frame.
So we talked about that at the beginning of the game. Players like that, David Egbo has 7 goals on the year. They need one chance. I'm sure the Falcons are hoping and praying that was the one chance that he gets all game, because we talked about the likes of Pat Flynn. They need that chance, and they score that chance. And
that was a little too easy for me. if I'm being honest and being critical of the team. That was just a long ball that kind of found his feet, and all of a sudden he's in on goal. So I would like to see the Falcons be a little more close to him next time.
When the game gets stretched out as it is, you're going to see bigger spaces between Ebby, Mo, and Tom. And I think that's exactly what happened. The space between Mo and Tom was large during transition, and they just need to tighten those spaces up so the likes of David have less and less space.
Great defending there by Zack Fisher. Just doing a good job of cutting off the supply, cutting off the cross.
Again, big moments, big moments. You can very easily say you're tired and let that cross come in and think it's a nothing cross, but at this stage, at this time of the game, every single detail matters, and Zack Fisher seems to know
Yeah,
that.
exactly. And nobody would bat an eye, right? Like, if he doesn't stick his leg out there, nobody would even realize that, oh, he could have made a play there. But that's just a testament to Zack Fisher just doing the intangible little things, small details, and making big-time plays for the Falcons.
Absolutely.
Well defended there by Vinnie Warner. Let's talk about another just young player for the Falcons stepping up. Vinnie Warner has done an awesome job tonight. Playing a little out of character in terms of his role so far, playing that wing back.
Yeah.
We've seen him in the central midfield so far this year.
Again, I said at the beginning, Vinnie Warner, I'm a huge fan of him personally as a player. He's unassuming. I think he was a bit of a sleeper for the BGSU team in the past year, and he's done an incredible job so far as a BG Falcon.
And that's a Copley native, right? Him and Brennan have grown up together. They know each other really well. Like you said, unassuming, but just a pleasant surprise every time he's on the field.
He's a joy to watch, and I've watched the training sessions with BG, the intensity of it, and he seems to be just a level-headed guy all the time, and he rides the pressure well, and as we see defensively, he's incredibly good as well, as we just know.
Incredible competitor is really what it comes down to when it comes to Vinnie Warner. He'll do the stuff, the little things that you won't necessarily see on the broadcast, you won't necessarily see, but they matter. And that's Vinnie Warner is the type of player that will do all that. Nice little play there by Tate. Nice little skill from him. Just Maradona out of there, find somebody's feet.
That's what we can expect from Tate.
I like that ball out of Chris Sullivan. Obviously it didn't pan out, but you saw what he was trying to do. Whip one really hard back post and see if there's a runner.
Yeah, I think at that point when you get that close in the final third, you've got to have runners willing and able to at least run across the keeper. So, dangerous area. Again, as a centre back, you see that fly over your head, you're just hoping no one's coming in back post.
Yeah, that reminds me of a Man City goal. Like that type of area, right? They do such a good job of getting into that spot, whipping a ball, and they always seem to have a runner. BG just lacking that. I think a little of that has to do with there's only 8 minutes left in the second half.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tired legs out on the field.
It's a heavy field. The grass is heavy. It's wet.
The jerseys are soaked.
Yeah.
You feel like you're carrying another 10 pounds on your back when you're playing in this type of game.
Absolutely. But again, they're the moments that could and usually are the difference as well. So I'm sure that's what it may come down to.
So we see number 26, Abdi Mohammed for Akron, walking off on his own will. It's always exciting to see a player that goes down to get off on his own, not need the trainer's support.
Absolutely. And Abdi's been a player who's actually been a bit of a handful for BG, whether it's directly or indirectly. He's found pockets of space out wide where the likes of Peter and Ebby just had to worry about. You know?
And so, yeah, exactly. And so just for you viewers at home that don't understand the rules, NCAA rules say that, oh, good header there. Should be Chris Brennan. Unlucky. Good job by the Akron goalie. Little half chance that we're talking about for BG. But for the viewers at home that don't know the NCAA rules, if a trainer does come on the field, you do have to go out. So you'll see him check back in as soon as possible. And actually, he's back on already.
Excellent defensive play by Mo Mustafa, and I think David Egbo, what he brings is that athleticism, cleverness, movement, pace, but Mo Mustafa just matched it in every sense.
Yeah, exactly. And the scary thing about Mo is he's arguably the best athlete on this team, and people don't really understand that about him. Tough little ball there. Big time save by Anthony Mwembia.
Again, we talk about moments, big moments.
That is an absolute gem of a save for you back home. For you folks that don't necessarily pick up on that at home, he came basically to the penalty spot to come and cut that angle down.
We talked about owning your box. Anthony Mbia takes that note to the next level.
That is a huge time save. Look to see BG kind of pick one another up here. And another huge time save. Anthony Mbia is absolutely dialed in tonight, folks.
He's not had a ton to do today, but again, when he's called upon, he's done a great job.
Right. And the flag's going to go out there. That's always been my biggest pet peeve with a righty taking a free corner kick on that side. It's so hard if you want to shape the ball like most normal righties take it to keep it in play. A lot of times you'll see the ball kind of swing out and then come back. Good job by the ref to pick that up because a lot of times they will just assume that it's in.
Yeah.
You saw instantly the flag just go up.
Again, as the legs are getting heavy, tired bodies, we're going to see a lot of swiping, a lot of missed kicks. We saw it a couple times already in dangerous areas, and I'm sure we can expect a few more of those in the last 5 to 6 minutes here.
And this is where I think the Falcons are at their best, just knowing when to pick and choose their moments to go forward.
This is where Akron can be dangerous.
Right.
Quick transitions going
Should
forward.
be Mwambia's ball. Yep, good call there by the ref.
Again, we talked about the space in between Mo and Tom and Ebby, and I think what Tom did an incredible job is realizing the defensive transition was necessary there and just covering that space behind Mo. And again, they're the reasons and the things that you need to take note of as centre backs, is how in tune are you with the other two. And tonight they've done an incredible job, bar a couple of times, but other than that, they've done a fantastic job as a defensive unit.
Completely agree. So you see Ebby right now getting stretched up at BG. It looks like a cramp.
Hopefully nothing too serious here for Ebby.
Yeah, I agree. The nice luxury that the Falcons have is they have a world-class player on the bench that plays Ebby's position in Achille, the French center back that just came in. He does a really good job. He's played a lot of minutes so far for the Falcons.
Yeah, you know, Achille, I've watched him a couple of times, and what he brings is experience, athleticism, understanding the game. I think similar attributes to Wembia's first year.
Yeah.
Not a lot of English, so I think the transition in that sense has been difficult, but he's done an incredible job so far for it being his first year here at PG.
He's just like your typical French center back. He's big. He's very technical. He wins a lot of balls in the air. He just does his job. He's Mr. Reliable.
Yeah. So again, obviously, Ebby hoping for the best for him if he can play on. If not, they have a good replacement in Achille.
Ebby getting a well-deserved, yeah, exactly. Ebby getting a well-deserved clap off here. It's nice to see him walk off on his own power. Looks like it was a type of cramp in his hamstring.
You know what? He's been injured for a while. He hasn't had 90 minutes under his belt for 2 to 3 weeks, so I think this is always going to be a tough game.
And this is a tough one, too, when you mention, you know, the 40-minute break in the middle of the game, right? Like, your legs get heavy. It's especially hard coming off of an injury to get back into a game like this.
With the amount of ground that Ebby's had to cover today, I think it's not surprising. Not that his fitness levels are low, but taking 2 to 3 weeks out in the middle of the season is always going to be a difficult transition back.
I'm just excited to see him walk off on his own power.
Yeah.
We know he'll be all right. And like we mentioned, BG with another center back that is more than capable to fill in. And we talked earlier in the broadcast just about that mentality of next man up. You always have to be ready. Kind of sounded like a deflection there. Ref says no. I thought I heard a deflection, but that's just me being biased probably.
Perhaps. Not that that would be the case ever.
No. This is an unbiased broadcast.
5 minutes remaining here.
I think both teams are just kind of looking for that one chance at this point. There's not going to be many left in the game, so when you do get it, can you capitalize? Can you take it?
Crowd getting pretty hyped about Peter Puglia's Meg.
Yeah.
Which is always fun. He always brings that sort of energy to a game. Talk about that miscommunication. Almost caused some issues.
Oh,
excellent.
Great. Unlucky there. Great skill there by Peter, though. The Falcon fans here are absolutely loving Peter's move there.
Potentially a big-time move. Big win by Ashiel.
And that's what we're talking about. Just him in the air is really hard to beat.
Again, defensive work by Zack Fisher there. Could have very easily not won that 50-50, but it was vital for him to do
Yeah.
so.
It's set up nice for Agbo there, too.
Mm-hmm. I'm surprised it took so long to see a tackle like that, to be honest.
Yeah. That's just a good old-fashioned Mac tackle
nothing
right
wrong
there,
with
right?
that.
That's just a strong tackle.
If anything, that this game has been missing.
Ref's just going to give him a little talkie to. I don't think it's worthy of a yellow card.
Well, these are 50-50. Zack Fisher may have had a 60-40 in his
Yeah.
favor, but nothing wrong. I don't think he'll complain. He would have went for the same tackle, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing that alerts me that the ref made the right call there is you don't see Zack Fisher arguing, right? You don't see him complaining, oh, that should have been a yellow, that should have been a red, whatever. He just get up, play on.
It's a credit to him as a player and the type of player that he is.
Honest.
Big time defended by Mo Mustafa once again.
Good job there by Tom Roble. Just to realize the pressure, realize the danger, just put your foot through it.
Again, these decisions and are not going down well with the BG Falcon fans.
The Falcon fans are riled up, and I couldn't be happier about it. And rightfully so on that last one.
As you mentioned, 1v1 defending is just so difficult. These conditions are just a nightmare for keepers, center backs, anyone isolated in a polarized situation.
As an attacker, you love this. You know everyone's struggling to stand you up. Like, I always enjoyed playing in this type of condition because you can just run at people a lot easier.
Yeah, we were forwards. Of course we love these conditions. Very low-risk players we are. If we lost the ball, it was like 100 yards to go.
Great punch there by Anthony Mwambia just to be big.
Some nervy last few efforts to get the ball out by BG Falcons. That one was a handball. I think they had called a little one earlier on Ashiel.
So clock ticking down here too. There's a minute left. Akron probably going to slow this down as much as possible. Set up for just one really good set piece. And be smart about it that they don't have time to counterattack if you're Falcons. Falcons are electing to keep or bring everyone back. They're not sending anybody forward.
Clever
all
decision
11.
to do so.
Yeah.
No real reason to not. So
I agree. I don't think there's going to be time for a counterattack, so you might as well just bring 11 back. I've always been a firm believer that you waste time as much as possible, and then you bring your goalie up on this one. But
I was thinking the same thing, especially if your keeper's 6'6".
right? Well defended there at the front post by Peter Pugliese. And good job by Tate Robertson to make the service tough.
Strange decision for Anthony Mumbia not to just come and claim that ball.
Yep. So 10 seconds left, ticking down here.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And that will do it, folks. So
Nervy last couple minutes.
For those of you that are at home that don't necessarily understand how NCAA overtime works, we'll play 2 10-minute overtime periods decided by golden goal. So first team to score wins, and we'll see you back in 5 minutes. Thanks for tuning in. All right, welcome back, folks. We are here with your Bowling Green Falcons playing the Akron Zips. We are in the first overtime period of the NCAA soccer, meaning that a golden goal here will win it for either team. So first team to score wins. At the end of 20 minutes, if we're still scoreless, the game will end in a draw. I'm joined by assistant women's soccer coach, Kian Reynolds. Kian, I heard you guys have a big game tomorrow.
We do. We play.
Tell me about it. Teach me about it.
We play Eastern Michigan in our 6th conference game. We play here, right here on Cochrane, tomorrow at 1 p.m. So looking to keep our good stretch of form going. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
And for those of you listening at home, if you don't know, the women's Bowling Green Falcons soccer team is undefeated in the MAC, right? We're 5-0.
Yeah, we've started off well. We had a tough couple of games recently, and again, tomorrow's going to be no different against a strong Eastern Michigan team. So,
and I saw on social media too, your team is taking over the NCAA soccer Instagram page.
We are. So if you're available and you follow NCAA soccer, by all means, check out behind the scenes on what we do on game day. So,
and we know you guys listening at home definitely have an Instagram account because my mom has an Instagram account.
That's
and
when you
she's
know.
65 years old.
When Mrs. Sullivan has one, that's when you know
so
everyone should have
I
one.
1,000% encourage you guys to tune into tomorrow's Instagram post by the women's team. And we look forward to seeing them take on a very strong Eastern Michigan team.
Absolutely.
And to extend their record in the MAC play. I just want to take a moment just to applaud you and your guys' coaching staff and what you've done with this program.
Thank
you guys are so relevant in the MAC, and I don't necessarily know if that was the case back when I was playing at the school, right? Like, you guys have just done such a good job, and it's a testament to you guys as well as the players on the team.
Yeah, no, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's as a coach, it's very easy for us to sit there and say it was us, and you hit the nail on the head. It's the players themselves. We have a great bunch of girls, and they've done a fantastic job this year. I think more so than anything, the way we've been playing.
Yeah,
has
it's
been what
fun to watch. You guys play soccer. You keep the ball. You're out possessing teams. It's just fun. It's for those of you listening at home that haven't necessarily taken the time to watch the women's team. I encourage you to come out, watch the stream tomorrow, come to the game. It's a special group of girls this year, and they're very fun to watch.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Again, we're more happy with the way they're playing, and it may sound silly, the results we always say will come with the way we want to play, and we're playing the way we want to play, and the results are coming, so we're happy with that.
And right now, your men's team is just trying to do anything they can to find a goal here in the last 20 minutes.
That's the case. And again, these overtimes are grueling and miserable for neutrals. I'm sure it's great, but I think any ties to BG or Zips, I think you're chewing on your nails right now, because any moment, any slip up, any big time moment in either area is going to be the difference between
and these
a winner
were
or
always,
loss right
like,
now.
as a former player myself and yourself as well, like, these were always my favorite moments, right? Everyone's watching. You know, if you score, you're the hero. You got the goal. The game's over. Like, it literally ends.
And you know, it's different watching from the sideline, or as a coach, I'm more nervous than I was as a player, because I think you go into autopilot mode. You do what you're used to, and you have very little control when you're a coach or when you're a fan or when you're a family member. I think right now the players, although we're feeling the pressure, I can only imagine that they're just gone into what they know, and they're just playing their game.
And they live for this moment.
Yeah.
They're excited.
This is what it's all about.
And so I think it's just important to note, come this time of the game, right, there's a lot of tired legs on both sides of the field. So it really comes down to who wants it more, who's willing to do that extra run when nobody's watching, who's willing to make that defensive stop that's absolutely crucial when their legs are tired. It comes down to those type of moments in a game like this, and that's what separates a winner from a loser.
At this point, it's about taking care of the small little details, slight passes that are off, slight touches that are off. I think take care of those small details, and the larger details will take care of themselves. You know.
And a nice little spell here for the Falcons. They're doing a good job.
It's gonna
for those of you at home, they're doing a really good job of when they get forward, they bring their center backs forward as well. So to kind of keep it, they're making it hard for Akron to get out of their own zone. Their defensive third.
Also worthy of a note is Ebby is back on the field, which is great news for the BG Falcons, both fans and players and staff. I think it's a big addition to this overtime now.
Couldn't agree more. He's just a special talent. And like you mentioned earlier on in the broadcast, he's one of the type of kids that you love to have on your team, but you absolutely hate to play against.
Yeah.
Good job there by Mo Mustafa just to put his foot through it.
Excellent hold-up play by Chris Brennan as well if he managed to get out of this one, which he does extremely well. To be taken away for the... I would take blame for that. Commentator's curse, that's how that usually happens. So, I apologize, Chris Brennan.
And that's what I love, Mo Mustafa. Just
so
an absolute crunching tackle from
chippy
him.
On the sideline now with the coaching staffs on both teams, particularly the Akron Zips are getting upset with the decisions made by the ref.
And you'll see the ref go to the pocket here. He's giving number 8 on Akron. That is Morgan Hackworth, giving him a yellow card. So I think that's the second yellow card to the Zips so far tonight.
I believe so.
It's been a long game. It's kind of hard to keep track of all this stuff. I feel like we've been up in the booth for 5 hours tonight.
Feels like it.
But it's been
a good 5
hours. It's been a good 5 hours with you, Kean. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you, Joe. Again, you can hear the yelling from the sideline. It might be from both coaches, is to move the ball. Because you move the ball, you move the other team, and the heavy legs. Spaces are going to happen naturally, you know what I mean? So I think moving the ball is relevant at this time in the game. You don't want to be chasing the ball at this point in the game, that's for sure.
Yep, you got to be smart. And you got to get numbers behind the ball in this type of situation.
Silly foul there by Chris. There was no real need for it. So
I completely agree. He didn't need to do that. Maybe that's a little bit of frustration, a little bit of tired legs.
Perhaps. I don't doubt it.
Just a class touch there by Vinnie. Just we can't harp on it enough. Yeah. Unassuming.
Unassuming, yeah. Difficult in moments like this to stay composed, to stay relaxed, but he's done a great job so far. Clever defending by Tom. He knew he wasn't going to be able to be in a position to play out. He would have had to hit it out, so he got his body there. He got there first and kind of just drew the foul.
It's smart, yeah. You see that all the time in the professional game. Really good defenders know when it's time to go down, right? They get their body in front of you. The second they feel the contact, they go down. It's an easiest call for the ref. Everyone here knew it.
On the flip side, I'm sure the Akron staff are pretty disappointed and frustrated by the lack of composure. Because there's no real need to give away the foul. That's why you want defenders facing their own goal, and it's difficult to manage.
And this has just been one of the most classic MAC games I've ever seen. We've seen it all. We've seen crunching tackles. We've seen the rain pouring. We've seen lightning. We have two fan bases yelling at one another. You just can't beat it. There's something about MACtober that's intangible. You can't put your finger on it, but it's just special. It's fun to watch.
It's a feeling more than anything, and I'm definitely getting that feeling right now. The intensity's there. And big time tackle by Zack Fisher.
And we've talked about how special of a talent he really is.
Good opportunity for Tate to get at this back line now. Good decision by Chris.
You saw what Chris Bennett was trying to do there. He was going to let it run through him, kind of give it a little flick. And I think that was Peter Puglisi running around him that would have been in.
It was.
I like that out of Chris Brennan, though. And I like that out of Chris Sullivan, knowing when to run at people.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris did an incredible job to kind of slow the game down, not force the play, and it turned out almost great.
Big time punch there from Wembia. It's interesting because I've seen him normally go to try to catch that. I wonder if that has something to do with the conditions.
You know what? In the warm-ups during the before the game, they were working a lot on it, more so than usual because of the conditions, I imagine. Very few and far between do you want to try catch those, and today seems to be the day. And again, that's credit to Sean Teep and relaying that message to Anthony, who on another day might try catch that.
Right. So we got 45 seconds here, ticking down on the clock. Falcons looking for maybe one more chance before they head into the second overtime. Let's see what Wembia can deliver on the punt. It's a good one.
Yeah, he's launched it.
I saw that one kind of just sitting up nice for Chris Brennan. If Tate could have got that over the Akron defender.
Interesting decision for Tate to try chip that. I'm not too sure if there was much of a need.
He almost could have just put that on the ground, right?
I'm sure. I'd obviously like to see it again, but yeah, strange decision. But
all right, folks, so that will do it for our first overtime. For those of you at home, we're going to do a quick 2-minute break, let the players get some water, some energy back in them, and then we'll be right back for the second and final 10 minutes if there's not a goal. All right, Falcon fans, we are back for your second and final overtime of the night. For those of you at home that still don't understand how this works, we're playing golden goal overtime soccer. First goal wins. If nothing happens and nothing materializes in the next 10 minutes, both teams will walk away with a draw. I got to say, I was happy with that 10 minutes from Bowling Green.
yeah, I was a few more chances going forward, and I think with Tate finding a few more opportunities driving at the back line. I think if you can take advantage of those opportunities, if they arise again, I think is huge moving into this final last 10 minutes in overtime. And again, he's on the heels of a 2-goal game, so his confidence must be sky high. And
you know he has the talent. You know he has goals in him. Can we get him free? Can we get him in that half yard of space where he can put something on net and do something special?
Looks like they're set up in the exact same way as they finished.
Yep, I think both teams are set up the exact same way. What's interesting for me, and we've harped on it a little bit so far, is like this game at this point, double overtime, everyone's legs are tired on the field. You know it as an attacker, you know it as a defender. Nobody's at 100%. So it's just going to take a special effort from somebody. Maybe they're wearing white, maybe they're wearing black tonight. Somebody's going to have to step up and make a huge chance here for either team.
Agreed, and in a couple of occasions for BG, it was actually in orange with Anthony Mambia making 2 big-time saves. So I think keepers are going to be extremely important these last 10 minutes. Not overly sure what happened here, but I think it's resulted in a corner kick for Akron. Tensions are high, as we expected.
The
going
stakes
into
are
this.
high, right?
Yeah. Akron seemed to think there should be more than just a corner kick.
That was an interesting one, too, because it looked like Mo Mustafa got tripped from behind. I understand where Akron's complaining about this, saying that he might have played it with his hand. But like at the end of the day, if you foul somebody, you got to call that original. If you don't call the original one, you can't call the handball. So I think the ref does a good job of just doing a no call there.
Yeah. Again, I'm sure the Akron staff would disagree.
Thankfully, they're not in the booth commentating. Big time defending there by, I think it was Zack Fisher. And I don't hate that out of Anthony Mumbia.
Yep, safe.
Safe.
At this point, that's
smart. We've showed that we can defend corners.
Not too sure who the clearances came from, but they're the big time moments as well. If they can clear the line and the first and second line, they can step out. But I think that occasion it was just cleared to a dangerous area. I think it was. I
think it was Zack Fisher on the front post did a good job just kind of stacking the pads, being big and blocking shots. Just would have liked to see him put his foot through it a little bit more. Got Bowling Green out.
Yeah. Again, they're the moments.
Great defending there by Abby. Numbers still here in the box for the Zips. Let's see if the Falcons can't just put their foot through one and get out the lines up.
That's the clearance we were looking for the first time round.
And you see immediately, you see Anthony just waving his center backs forward, get the lines up.
Again, you can see the heavy legs from Chris Brennan chasing these down, and not too sure if he has much left in the tank, but at this point he just needs to keep going for the last 7 or so minutes.
And I like that out of a center forward. You'll notice he's all the way back defending. I think that's sometimes the most important job of a center defense or a center forward, to get back and help the team out defensively at times. It's a huge, like as a center mid, you see your center forward working back for you. It just gives you that little boost of energy that you know the team's bought in and they're willing to do whatever it takes to win.
And again, there's a time and place where, depending on the situation, how the game is going, but this is a game where everyone needs to defend, not just the block of 7, but it needs to be everyone. And at this point in the game, I think it's evident that BG are doing just that.
Foul there. I think Mo Mustafa took an Akron player down there.
Dangerous area here for Akron to create something.
Yeah, this is a weird one. It's a little too far to hit, so I think you just kind of try to clip one, maybe back post, or you whip one near post. Those are your two options.
This is where Anthony Mambia tends to own his box a little more than most.
Right.
So I'd be intrigued to see if they try to clip it in that kind of half space between where Anthony is and that line is. So
yeah, and at home for you guys watching, I encourage you to look at where Mwambia is going to start on this one. Look at his starting position. He's not going to be on the line. and he's got his weight forward, meaning that the second he sees something that he likes, it's something that he can attack, he's going to go shoot for it. And good save there. So the Akron player electing there to go for a shot. 1B, obviously, it's going to take a lot. It's going to take something a lot more special than that to beat him from that far out.
Again, that's not easy for a keeper to handle so cleanly. It bounced right before it. It's popped up, and again, on another day, another keeper can make that look very difficult.
Exactly, and that's what makes him such a special talent. He makes those little plays like that look so easy. To any other goalie in the country, maybe they're punching that out for a corner. Not sure what the ref's going to do here. It looks like there's 2 balls on the field. It's going to have the Zips just kind of play it back, and that's good sportsmanship by that. You'll see the Falcon fans and the players applaud that. Well done there by Jensen to keep play.
Again, made look very easy by Anthony. Ball bounced right before it popped up into his hands, and he's taking it cleanly as per usual.
And I like that out of Tate. He comes up, gives his goalie a little pat on the back, says, "Thank you for having our back."
Yeah.
For those of you watching at home, I promise the Akron Zips were wearing white at the beginning of the game. Now they're wearing a little bit of brown. What a chance there for Akron.
Again, on another day, that's a goal.
Bowling Green doing everything they can to just hang on right now.
So, yeah, again, very lucky. Ebby, one slip, one moment. That's what we talked about as a centre back. These conditions are the worst, and we just saw it firsthand there.
Bowling Green very lucky to get out of that one. You don't see an Akron player whiff out in the 6-yard box very often, but when you do, you'll take it.
100%. I'm sure everyone has read a sigh of relief right now on the sideline for BGSU.
And I think you'll just notice that in the body language of BG, right? Very content with that foul. All right, let's take a deep breath. Let's regroup. Let's not let that happen again.
Sigh of relief from everyone on the sideline and the 80-plus alums who are here watching.
I think that's just the power of the alumni right there, willing that ball past the Akron player.
Maybe they need to be at every home game.
You can talk to Eric Nichols about that one.
And it's like an ice rink out there right now. Legs are getting stretched. Akron finding some joy getting in behind now. The last 3 or 4 minutes of the game. Spaces are popping up in behind the back 3.
Great move there by Peter Pugliese. That's what makes him so fun to watch. Is he doesn't even touch the ball there, but it's his body fan. He lowers his shoulder, and it's just hard to understand where he's going to go with the ball. That's what makes him so special and fun to watch.
Unnecessary foul there by Zack Fisher, I believe, and I think between the two of them.
See yellow here for that one, maybe. Or look, maybe just a Stern talking to.
Looks like he's got the yellow out, ready to give it to him. Again, similar distance to what we were just talking about. Maybe a little bit too far to shoot.
Yeah.
Well, again, we're probably going to see Anthony step off his line 2 to 3 yards right now. Ready to pluck this one out of the sky.
Yeah, so you saw them elect to shoot this last time. I think this one's just another 5 or 10 yards farther. I don't think they have a choice here but to clip one in.
Yeah.
Unless they're going to play short on the far side. You see number 26. I believe that's Abdi Mohammed. We've said his name a lot tonight.
He's been a bit of a nuisance.
Falcons aren't going to forget about him as they send Tate back there. Great job by Chris Brennan to be big in the
Yeah.
wall. It's a one-man wall. And you see Coach Nichols just waving the Falcons forward. Get your lines high. Don't let Akron pin you in.
Could have ended up anywhere. BG very fortunate that Skip just left of the post.
For those of you at home in the press box here, we are absolutely holding our breath.
Keep bleeding.
Looks like Chris Brennan, number 10 for the Falcons, may or may not have gotten hit with the ball in the face there. He might have a bloody nose. But they are gonna looks like they're gonna check him back in. The ref making him come off the field. Okay, and so we'll see Charlie Macheski, yeah. Smart move there by Coach Nichols, just to bring in somebody.
Noting at this point with the way this last overtime has gone, it's not looking like BG are necessarily looking for the goal. They're just trying to prevent one now.
Great job defending there by Ebby.
Again, that's Vinnie Warner.
Mr. Unassuming, right?
Incredible defending. He's put his head where most wouldn't put their feet, and he's
and that's what makes him a winner. He's a winner.
Yeah.
Type of kid you'd love to have on your team. So the clock's running down here. We have a little bit over 2 minutes left. Second overtime period definitely dominated so far by Akron.
Yeah, but again, one last push can shift this game in another way.
And we've seen how the pitch and the rain has affected the game. We know that there's a chance left here in for the Falcons.
Dangerous area for Akron to win a free kick right now. And again, I think it's going to be Sky harder on this ball. He's a left footer, either him or David Egbo. Between the two of them have been dangerous on set pieces. So I'll be intrigued to see who takes this one. But I imagine it's going to be a shot this time around.
Yeah, this is absolutely a shooting distance. You'll see a couple Akron players lining up their left foot here.
Some stern words from the ref to Eric Nichols, it looks.
They're just trying to determine whether or not they can bring Chris Brennan back into the game. It's not necessarily a stop of play, but the ref will allow it. Coach Nichols, sometimes it's a little easier just to side with him and not argue with him, bring the player on.
I would agree with that. Again, just be wary of, it looks like Marco Milanese in the back post area, just roaming around by himself. I'd be intrigued to see if BG want to pick him up because any rebounds can pop anywhere.
The Akron player standing like Cristiano Ronaldo, ready to strike this ball. He's got an interesting
sure,
stance.
all Falcon fans are hoping he doesn't hit a ball like Cristiano Ronaldo, but we'll see. Ball's done its job.
Great great wall there by the Falcons, just to be big. Clock ticking down here. We have a little bit over a minute left in the game. Falcons just bringing all their numbers back, trying to do anything they can just to get this ball out.
Again, I think that might have been, not too sure who that was.
1 minute remaining.
Third corner kick here in a row for the Zips.
Zips bringing on someone, an aerial threat, it looks like, for the last potential corner kick. Big time.
punch there by Anthony Mwimbia. Numbers here for the Falcons if they attack. We got 16 seconds left. Far number. Great ball by, not going to pick him out, but great idea. And I think this result's fair. I think a 0-0 draw, I think that's even.
I think overall, maybe in the last overtime period, as you can see, the BG Falcons, 3, 4, 5 of them just dropped to their knees. It's credit to their players. They didn't sub an awful lot today, maybe just 2 or 3 times, which is an incredible feat by most of these players. And as you can see, number 20, Jensen, what a player he's been today. He's covered every blade of grass.
Talk about a freshman stepping up in a huge game.
He's covered every blade of grass I think possible today, and he didn't stop, so credit to him.
Well, folks, we really appreciate you tuning in. This game's going to end as a 0-0 draw as the Akron Zips and the BG Falcons start their MAC conference schedule with a point.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair result.
I think both teams will take it. Before the game, I know both of them going into the MAC game with the schedule and results they haven't had or wanted. So I think a tie was a fair result at the end of the day.
I couldn't agree more. And we appreciate you tuning in. We're glad you listened, and we look forward to chatting with you next time. That's all for us here in the booth, folks. Kian, awesome job today. It was awesome having you in the booth, and it was fun.
All right.
Thank you guys for tuning in.
Thank you.
We'll see you next game.